welcome my beloved, beautiful Youest listeners. I got to tell you, I already have this deep heart and soul connection with our guest today. Had the pleasure of getting to talk to Agapi beforehand. I'm going to introduce her to you, but I just want to let you know you're in for a very special conversation. And as always, just sit back, listen, relax. You will have all the show notes, all the information. But from my heart to yours, I'm so honored you're here today to listen in. Let me tell you all about our beautiful, esteemed, renowned guest. You have the pleasure, my dear soul seeker, of listening and getting to know Agapi Stassinopoulos. Agapi is a best-selling author and speaker who inspires audiences around the world. In her previous book, Unbinding the Heart, A Dose of Greek Wisdom, Generosity, and Unconditional Love, she shares the wisdom from her life's adventures and experiences. In her new book, Wake Up to the Joy of You, 52 Meditations and Practices for a Calmer, yes please, Happier Life, she takes readers on a journey and inspires them to let go of what doesn't work and instead create the life they really, really want. Agapi was trained in London at the Royal Academy of Dramatic Art and then moved on to receive her master's degree in psychology from the University of Santa Monica. Her previous books on the Greek archetypes, gods and goddesses in love and conversations with the goddesses, were turned into PBS specials. She is currently conducting workshops for Thrive Global, one of my faves, and it is a company that is founded by her sister, Ariana Huffington, to help change the way that we work and that we live. Agapi has spoken and conducted meditations at many organizations and companies, including L'Oreal, SAP, LinkedIn, Pandora, Google, Nike, Weight Watchers, Starbucks. Oh my gosh, the list goes on. Women's Health, Magazine, Paul Mitchell, and it keeps going on. She is such a gem. And Agapi brings home the importance of self-care, practicing gratitude, generosity, and self-love to enhance performance and productivity so we can experience happiness and life fulfillment. She divides her time between New York and Los Angeles and was born and raised in Athens, Greece. One of my favorite cities. Yes. You can find Agapi at wakeuptothejoyofyou.com. We will also have, she has meditations for you. And Agapi, you gave your email, which is agapi@unbindingtheheart.com, so you can connect with her. We'll have all of this in the show notes, but she has amazing meditations that you can get on her website. And oh my goodness, I am like, my heart is just bursting.
Thank you, and welcome everyone. And I am so thrilled to be together, Julie. I have loved your work, and as you so beautifully said, our soul connection right from the start. I do feel that I'm speaking with a soul sister, and the way you support and empower others is so kind and loving and caring, and I just love that.
Thank you so much. It means a lot to me. And I think that I know there's so many different topics and so many ways that we want to dive into really how to connect to your heart, to your soul. And, we were getting to speak beforehand, which was delicious. And one of the things we started talking about, which I think is a great place to start, is really this like interesting struggle that I think we all go through. You had talked about this dual citizenship of being human and divine. And I think this is really a powerful place to start. What is that struggle like? And really would love to hear from you, your experience of this. How do you hold space? How do you move through it? So I'm going to just turn it to you, Agapi.
I heard that fabulous phrase from Anne Lamott, and I put a plug in from Anne Lamott's a podcast with Tim Ferriss, because it is filled with gems. And I love podcasts that are filled with gems and humanity. And Anne Lamott happens to be one of my favorite human beings and writers, because she talks about the human suffering and the human struggle, and she dives right into it. And for a lot of people like me and you who are on the spiritual path, and we want to be elevated, and hold a positive focus for other people to lift themselves. And we teach meditation, and you teach the amazing language of intuition, and how to operate from a more multidimensional consciousness, people like us can struggle with a human part of us that is very human and has difficulty being perfect down here, and that lack of perfection, like for example, when we feel unhappy or depressed or irritable or jealous or disappointed, and the myriad of human emotions, sad, we can go, oh, but I shouldn't feel this way. I should really feel elevated because I'm now a spiritual being. But nobody said that a spiritual enlightened being should not have the humanness, because doing a spiritual bypass and kind of going, oh, I don't feel that, it takes tremendous amount of stress from our being. And I always go back to your girl. We have many parts to ourselves, and we have a girl, and you have a girl that has become a mother. I don't have children. I have nieces that I adore. But you can be the adult, the wise woman, and you can be the girl in you that also has needs and has life's experiences that we want to have, that we have regrets maybe, but with a journey, and that human journey needs a lot of loving. And that's where, to me, the spiritual being comes, because to be a spiritual being means that your heart is open. And I always say, you can do as much meditation you like, but if your heart is not open, you're not going to experience the bliss of spirit. You're not going to experience the presence, because we experience it through the heart chakras, through the intelligence of the heart. And all we have to do is, at the moment of our struggles, at the moment of our unhappiness, at the moment of our disappointments or our sadness, and look at all the challenges we're going through right now, if we open our hearts, and right now you can actually do that because it's in the moment that this happens. Julie and I are calling you forward to open your heart, and then lean back and breathe out and breathe in, and just say, oh my God, no matter what, no matter where, no matter with whom, no matter what I have or I don't have, right this minute, I'm being breathed. And in that breath is the comfort. And in that breath is the kindness. In that breath, spirit to me is gentleness and tenderness. And how many of you have held a baby? And you feel those, you look at the soul of this baby who cannot speak, who cannot walk, who cannot eat, who cannot, who has to poop on itself. And you love that baby as absolute perfection. And who doesn't hold a baby and you feel, oh my God, this baby, whether you know it or you don't know it, I just see babies in the street or in the coffee shops, and I go, oh, my heart melts, because that's really a soul in a little body. So that's who you are. That's who you are. You are the soul in this body that is maybe not little and now it's an adult, but that essence, can we awaken it? Can we evoke it? Can we call it forward at every moment? And at the moment of our humanness or our ego-ness, the ego comes and fights, and the personality comes and says, I didn't like when you said that, and I'm not getting what I want in this relationship. And I don't know. I mean, I hear more questions from people saying, I'm stuck. I don't know how to move forward. And I would love to share with you keys of how do you deal with yourself at that moment of your stuckness or your unhappiness. And that's where the spirituality comes.
Oh my gosh, there is so much that you just share that is really, really powerful. One of the things that I love about you is this not bypassing what you're feeling. And just to go back, because I want to get into the stuckness and I want to hear your brilliance on that. You know, it's interesting, Agapi, when you were talking earlier about, you know, it can be hard sometimes when you feel I'm connected to my essence and being spiritual. I've struggled with, oh my gosh, I feel like disappointed or resentful. And I think that pattern of even just judging that part of me, and I know I'm not the only one. I know perhaps you've had that and others listening. That's the place, what I'm hearing you say, that's the place to breathe, to let spirit breathe through you and to love up on that part too. Because that's the piece I know for me when I've had a resentment, I'm like, ooh, I don't like how that feels. That doesn't feel spiritual. That's human.
Well, it doesn't feel spiritual, then that's a huge judgment we do on ourselves. Because I mean, the universal, I mean, you know, God, whatever we call God, the universal intelligence is not judging us in any level. We are judging us. The ego is judging us. Because the God to me is the universe. I mean, I could not presume to define God, but I know I love this phrase that I actually have quoted in my new book, that God is not a being, it's a state of being. It's a state of consciousness.
Love it.
And in that state of consciousness, we can all access 24/7. So my goal is how can I live my daily life in a state of calmness? You know, that's why this book, you know, 52 meditations for a calm and happy life, a calmer and happier, not calmer, happy life, because it never is. And, you know, you'll see in this book, for example, I have
beautiful
chapters like checking in and following up. Like you check in with yourself, you check in with your belly and you say, what's going on? You say, I feel, for me, it's like so many times, you know, I feel like I'm a dancer, I'm a mover. And if I sit too long, and if I'm on my head doing, some part of me starts to scream.
Yep.
And I say, what do you want to do? And it's like, put music on and dance and move. I'm going to go on the treadmill. I used to go to the gym, but now with COVID, I can no longer go to the gym. And I miss it terribly because I love the weights. I mean, I love to exert. And I love to get out of my house and go somewhere.
Yeah.
And since we've been in Los Angeles, I've had to do most of my working out on the Zoom or on. So I've missed that. So I have to be very creative with myself.
Right.
It could be very simple that some part of you needs renewal. And I say, change your room around. Instead of having the armoire there, put it over there. Instead of having the desk, you know that it took me an enormous amount of years my desk was in the corner and overlooking the wall, and I never wanted to sit there. And you know, one of my girlfriends came and said, why do you move your desk overlooking the window? And I said, because then I can't close the curtain behind the window. And my desk happens to be in my bedroom as well. And one day she came over and she said, I'm going to move your desk. And she pushed it over. It was a heavy duty desk. It's a gorgeous painted desk. And I moved it over. And then we moved it enough distance from the window so I could go behind the window and close the curtains. Now, I was dumbfounded that it took me all these years. I hated where my desk was. I never sat on it. I would just pile the papers and go sit somewhere else to do my work. And as little as that is, we get stuck in our patterns. And I think if we can have friends around us that can help us, because listen, don't try to do it alone, ever. Please get people, friends. If you I mean, it's great if you can afford organizers that you love, but work with people you love and love you.
Mm.
And ask your friends. I mean, I say things here like 4 magic words, chapter 38, can you help me? And I wanted to clean my closets. I had so many clothes, Julie, that I did not wear. They were so old, but I love those clothes. They were so special to me. There were periods of my life that I said, like right now I'm wearing a new jacket, a white jacket. I have 10 white jackets, but I said, I'm going to give 8 away because they represent the old agape. I don't want them anymore. They're too short. I've worn them enough. New energy in your clothes is incredible. So it's the little things that you do to yourself, but checking in and following up means listen to yourself. It's in the little things. It's not in theory. It's not. And one day one day I found happiness, 36 chapters of your happiness book. It's not that. It's like the little things. It's how you cook for yourself, how you feed for yourself, how you say, I'm going to go to a new restaurant. I'm going to reach out to this new person that I met the other day. When I heard from Julie a request, and I check very, very discerning about my energy, who I connect with. And I just listened to Julie's podcast, and I listened to how you talk about the 5 levels of intuition. By the way, I took the quiz. I'm a visceral.
Oh,
That's,
nice. Me
that's
too.
the body, right?
Yeah.
And I felt her authenticity, her kindness. I wanted to get to know her. And I felt the sweetness of this woman, and I go, oh my God, this is incredible. So this is a joy. So scan the people around you and say, not sure. Yes. And go to those, how bees go to the flowers. Make your life magical. But how you make your life magical is by responding to the yeses in your life. Now, I also want to talk about something very, very important. It's called negative mental bias. It's when we start to see things negatively. And I had to realize, Julie, that some part of me was addicted to suffering. Okay? So let me tell you this. I stopped watching documentaries which were about unhappiness or horrible stories, which are filled on TV, right? But there are tons or murder mysteries television, we know and for some people love it and they don't get hooked. I get hooked. Now, I had to be very discerning. What do I listen to? What do I listen to on podcast, on audio, on TV, on Netflix, on anything? I had to, because I'm such a sponge that I would just, it would infiltrate me, and then I would have to spend a day clearing it. The same thing with people, like, see, I realized as a little girl, I would always attract girlfriends who had problems. They had problems. With their boyfriends, with their parents, and they would come to Agapi, and I would listen to them and counsel them. And I went, wait a second, why can't I just choose people who are creative and happy and abundant? And everybody has their problems. But is there a balance?
Yeah.
And I would gravitate, and that's partly because my father was a concentration camp survivor. And in the Second World War in Greece, the Germans came and occupied Athens. And my father was a very well-known young journalist, was writing against the Germans. and they caught him and they took him to the camps. Horrible stories. And he wrote about it, and he survived. He became a very successful economist and all that. Met my amazing mother, and my mother served in the Red Cross in the Second World War. Wow. And my mother was an amazing spirit and soul of generosity and love and brilliance, and fell in love and had my sister Ariana and then me. But then very soon after having me, my father started having extramarital relationships and broke my mother's heart in a way. You know, they at the end, it's all in my book, Unbinding the Heart, the stories of all that. But that created a dynamic in my psychic of me wanting to help my parents, feeling my father suffering, feeling my mother suffering. And that created a dynamic of the bias in the mind of the suffering. So I kept going. I kept picking up men in relationships that I always wanted to save. I don't know if anybody relates. Oh, they need work, or they need they are emotionally damaged, or and one day when I realized that I had this savior complex, that I needed to be with these men who needed help and needed nurturing, and I was abandoning Agapi to go and be in a relationship. And when it hit me after my last relationship that I had, and I said, this is not working for me, I wrote about it, a sabbatical from men. And I took a whole year away from relationships. And I devoted myself to my creativity. You know, it was like the tsunami of creativity. I started to write about the goddesses. I started to do a one-woman show. I then ended up doing a PBS special. It was like this force of creativity, this energy that was being given was coming back to me. So most human beings, including myself, have a very hard time receiving from yourself, because you have it wired that it's selfish.
Yes.
And it's this, and you know, there's so many books, Julie, about falling in love with yourself, right? But you know, what does that mean, falling in love? I mean, it means that you have to go there to the places that are raw and vulnerable and that are so human, and you have to go beyond the skin and embrace that part and go, how can I not love this being in here? How can I not love myself and have compassion and come into a gentleness and a kindness? And when you come against other people who are like, for example, you know, I have a much slower nature than my sister, who is much more an achiever, and she's much more driven, and she's a creator, and she's really very much in a constant mode of completing and doing. And I'm much more, I need to smooth, I need to lean back, I need to have moments of doing nothing. And I have moments of wanting to really hang out with my friends, and where I get the nurturing. It's a completely different nature. So when I come across people who are very fast, and that I can feel jarred.
Yeah.
Because, you know, I'm in I have a very different rhythm, as my mother used to say. So loving yourself means honoring your rhythm.
Oh, that is so powerful, because you've been really saying this, I think, in different ways, is to really love and honor your energy, your cadence, your rhythm.
Yes. Yes.
And I want to hear more, because, you know, I just relate, and I know others listening do too. And I think some of my health breakdowns were because I was acting probably more like the high achiever, always moving. And I'm listening to you, I'm like, oh, I'm like you. Like I actually keep a little turtle on my desk because I actually like slower energy. Like I didn't know this,
That's
but it's
beautiful.
just, I relate. And it was sort of a, oh my gosh, I don't like to go fast. I really don't. I don't like to go fast. And I love what you said.
Movement that I recommend people check out is called the slow movement. You know about that?
I've heard of it, but I obviously
Uh,
need to learn more.
Slow work, slow raising your children. I would definitely recommend slow sex. Who wants to have like bang, bang, bang,
That's awesome.
slow everything. And it's in the slowness
Yeah.
of that the vibration of the frequencies of the higher levels of presence come.
Mm.
And I mean, I watched both I was present in both my parents taking their last breath.
Oh,
You know, I
wow.
mean, when my father died in Greece, I was next to him. Well, I was next to him in the bed, and then they sedated him, and then he died in the morning.
Mm.
But I was there when the breath was slowing down, And the same thing for my mother. She fell and was having a stroke, but never told us she was having a stroke, and
Mm.
she just went slower. And when we transcend the body, I mean, from what I've seen and what I've heard, is that there is a slowness,
Mm.
And so if you are always banging against the time, the clock, you never get to experience your soulfulness.
Yeah.
And the
Beautiful.
soulfulness, I mean, there is the mystic poets, Rumi and Kabir and Hafiz, the mystic poems whom I love, and I recommend we read them at night, always talk about the gaze of God.
Mm.
That you have to open up your periphery. Like if you're too much closed in, you don't experience it. That's why I love the island of Santorini, which is in the cover of my book.
Oh, one of my
The heart.
favorites.
I mean, you can't, you gaze. Go. It's why people love to go to the mountains. You gaze, and you take in the presence. You take in the expansion. Think of your life, the breath and the heart, contraction and expansion,
Mm.
contraction and expansion, contraction and expansion. Everything in life is contraction and expansion. So when you are contracted, you might be experiencing more of the separation or the disconnect. And when we're for me, when I dance, when I am with people, when I am speaking, I experience the expansion. But also when I'm meditating and I go quiet and I go still and I go beyond the mind. The mind is going, and you go into the infinity, and you lean back and you allow the breath to take over. And then you deal with the emotions which are located in your solar plexus and in your unconscious, and things come up as you meditate, and that's a process, and that's the human process. It takes a lot of tenderness, a lot of loving, a lot of compassion,
Yeah.
and a lot of allowing.
Mm.
And if we don't do that, then we're going against the grain of who we are. And the world does not signal us to slow down, does not signal us. I mean, you never see signs that says, or you never hear in your resume, and she took a year off. I mean, you hear it, but you hear she took a year off after she burned down.
Right.
Or she took a sabbatical because he had a heart attack, or he had. I mean, when we get into the crisis,
Yeah.
we take time off. But let's not wait for that. I mean, it's our lives. It's hard. It's, you know, it's making it, romancing the self, romancing the self, romance yourself and bring and do things that bring you joy. Wake up to the joy of you, you know? And so as I was reading these chapters here, and partly why this book is so precious to me is because it's so human. Are you living in denial? Overcoming your childhood. Okay, you had a bad childhood, but it's your responsibility to raise your kid up. It's not a trade, it's an offering. Give because you want to give. Make your ego your ally. Your ego is not your enemy. Don't relinquish your authority. Why do we go to other people? Oh, you know, but I don't know. Yes, you do know. Nobody teaches us to claim our inner knowing, and that's what you so beautifully do with your intuition. You do know.
Yeah.
There is always a solution. And perspective, really perspective, finding your perspective in life. And so all these are just, it's a process. And I everything I write comes from my own agapiness, I call it, my experience. When I was my editor from Unbinding the Heart would always say to me when I was writing my draft, I don't want lecturing. I want to know how you did it. And when I was writing it, and I encourage people to write their story, whether you publish it or you don't publish it, write it for your children, write a piece of your life as a story, and just say my short story. And you realize how in the middle of going through something, the God in you, the spirit in you, the high self in you, the soul in you was navigating it. So right in the middle of you bitching or going, I'm having such a hard time, I hate this, or he left me or she left me, or I got fired, or there is the COVID and there is this horrible challenges in the world. Right in that, the spirit is navigating us through the challenges.
Oh, I love it.
Through the challenges. And when you write it, you become conscious of it. And it's important that you tell your story, because the world will try to make you feel you don't matter, or you don't matter, the other people matter. No, you matter as much as any human being on this earth. You matter to you, and you matter to the universe. And it wasn't like, oh, God said, I'm going to bless these people, but not bless them. It's like we all have been given our cards to deal with, and we've all have it in us. But some of us have chosen to be more awake. And that's beautiful. And that's a choice, to say, I need to awake more to who I am, and I'm going to devote my time for that.
There are so many gems here, Agapi. I'm writing, I'm telling you all, there'll be so many, the show notes. I'm just taking so many notes, and it's just gorgeous. It kind of goes back to what you said earlier with when we started the duality of, this dual citizenship of human and divine. And this to me, I was like, oh, this just sums it up, that, allow spirit to navigate through the challenges, allow spirit to show up with you, through you. That's gorgeous. Yes.
And many times you're just going to be in your humanness, and that's okay. And you're going to be in your complete humanness. And sometimes you're going to be in your divine humanness, and sometimes you're going to move away into your spirit. So there's going to be this ebb and flow, Yes.
As you said, the heart and the soul, like that ebb and flow, the inner, when you breathe in, you breathe out, it's like the ocean, allowing for that. This has been such a beautiful conversation. And I know one of the things I would love for you to do, and you talked about, is doing a meditation. And we don't have to do it right this minute, but I really would love for everyone to experience what you're talking about, this kinds of presence. And I know you are an expert in leading meditations and really helping, like you just said, it's a choice to be more awake. So maybe helping everyone listening to be more present and awake would be such a gift to have you do that.
And I would ask you all to just right now come into a still place inside and just lean back. And you can close your eyes. Sometimes when we close our eyes, it's like a way of just closing off the world. And you can take your hand and put it in your heart if you like. And feel your breath just pushing against your hand. So as you breathe in, there is this energy of your breath that's just pushing your palm away and then calms down. And then everything comes into coherence, and just feel your breath rising and your breath falling. And relax your shoulders, relax your jaw, and just have a soft smile like Mona Lisa, as if you know the secret of the universe because you know the power of your breath. And just right now, in this beautiful silence, as we are together, imagine that there is distance between you and your thoughts, you and your doingness, you and your life, you and your projects, you and your friends, you and your relationships, you and your home. There is this being inside that just observing everything. And this being is like a golden, radiant being, like a presence that is even more radiant and warm and illuminating than the sun. And it's radiating from you to the outside world. And it's lit up from inside, and it touches to every thought, every emotion, everything that you are doing in your life right now. It is blessing it. It is a presence that lives in you. And you right now, together with me and Julie, you are evoking it forward. You are opening a door. You're just opening a window. And as you open that door, the veil that separates you from that beingness, which is your soul, which is your God self, is lifting. The veil is being lifted, just like that. It's like a curtain that just opens. And then suddenly and sweetly, you're gliding into your inner self. And you connect that presence to your body, to your solar plexus, where the emotional center is. And you send a message to your being, to your girl or to your boy, to the younger part of yourself, to the human part, and you say, I am safe. I am protected. I am loved. And you feel it pouring from the top of your head, down your spine, down your neck, all the way down to the bottom of your spine, down to your legs, your knees. It's going into your bones, all the way out into your feet, circling back into your arms, your elbows, your fingertips, and you feel it pulsating in your fingertips. And if you could put your hands together, there is something so powerful about connecting your hands together, your palms. It's almost like I call it the left hemisphere and the right hemisphere of the brain. The two sides unite. And you see this in yoga postures, you see it in prayer. And I do it a lot throughout the day. And you can just place it just gently on your chin or over your mouth. But there's something about telling yourself, we are aligned. We are aligned, we are connected. And right now, just listen for a message from your high self, from your spiritual self, from your divine self. Just listen to a message to you. And breathe it in and breathe it out. And whatever that message is, when we open our eyes, you can write it down. And let's just give thanks to that energy that breathes us, that connects us, that is so present with us. And let's just send it out to the next thing we're going to be doing. Send it out to the people we love. Send it out to the world, to the news, to whatever you hear. You send that radiance and that presence. And if you want to issue a prayer, something you would like more of, just ask. And just let's close this with a thank you.
Wow. Wow. Thank you so much. That was beautiful. I was so in it for a minute. I was like, oh, we're recording a podcast interview. And that was so beautiful, Agapi. And I can feel our beautiful listeners. I can just feel, I almost felt us all in a circle. Like if we were at a retreat together, I felt us all connected. So
Yes.
beautiful.
And so I do have a lot of 33 meditations I recorded for this book. And send me Agapi at unbindingtheheart.com. I send about 8 of them as a gift. And then you can order them from Audible. You can order the book from Audible as well. And they are so, they're short and sweet. And I brought them forward for each area of our lives. I listen to them myself. Stay in touch, my friend. Yes. And let me share with you what I have learned. My new book is out January 11th. Actually, I think people can pre-order it now. It's called Speaking with Spirit, 52 prayers to guide, uplift you, and inspire you. And I'm excited about this.
Beautiful. On 1/11, right? 1/11, January 11th. Is that what you said? It's coming out?
January 11th, 2022.
22. So it'll be
I'm in New York by then. I'm so happy to be back in New York.
Oh, beautiful. That was exquisite, Agapi. And I just, oh my gosh, everyone, you must get her book and meditations. I feel like I was transported somewhere. I'm still like, where are we? That was so stunning. Oh,
I'm
just
so happy. It's been
thank
such a joy to be with you, my dear Julie. I'm look forward to breaking bread together. And you promise you come and meet me in New York, and we're gonna go have a nice dinner, a Greek dinner.
Oh my gosh, you say no more. Trust me when I say I am there. And I was noting the book with the Santorini. The cover is my most favorite place I've ever been to in my entire
Unbinding
life.
the Heart. I love this book. It's my journey from Greece to
Gorgeous.
London to Los Angeles to my
Wow.
spiritual awakening.
Mm,
I poured it all out, and thank you for honoring my work and me, and for all your contribution you're making. And just God bless everybody, and stay kind to yourself. Stay loving
mm.
to yourself, regardless. Don't put all these conditions like one day I love myself when I got it all together. No, now.
Mm. Thank you so much for the gift of you, your heart, your light, your words. I mean, thank you, thank you, thank you. We are so blessed to be with you today. And I'm so grateful. We'll have all of this information. Everyone listening, do not worry. I'm going to have everything so that you can find Agapi and her website and meditations and books. And thank you for being an extraordinary light in this
Thank you,
world.
darling. God bless you, and God bless everybody. Be safe, be kind, be loving, and speak to you soon again. God bless. Thank you. Thank you, Julie.